This is the Palin Update on Saranet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
Knowing that he's doing what he loves to do, and that is, those extreme sports where he is, adrenaline's flowing, working hard, mechanics come into play, the physicality comes into play, all that combined just makes for great competition.
Todd Palin is a four-time Iron Dog champion, and he's going for another one this month in Alaska. Not only will Todd be racing for victory, but also for a very special cause. Today, we'll talk to Craig Compeau, the man who came up with the idea to have some of the Ski-Doo teams in the Iron Dog go pink. Sarah Palin's reaction pre- and post-State of the Union address. Where do the states rank when it comes to fiscal matters? We'll take a look. Chick-fil-A comes through in the clutch, and Governor Palin actually found someone excited about Obamacare? Wait till you see who it is. A brand new Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson is coming up, and just ahead, Steel Resolve, our weekly commentary with Sarah Steelman. First, our special guest from the great state of Alaska. His name is Craig Compeau. He is a Fairbanks Ski-Doo dealer, and he's sponsoring Todd Palin's team in this year's race. Mr. Compeau, welcome to the Palin Update on Saranet Radio.
Well, thank you.
First off, some background. How'd you get involved in the Great Iron Dog race, and what has the race meant to you and to Alaska?
Well, I was born and raised in Alaska, so snow machining is in my blood. You know, we call it snow machining, not snowmobiling like the rest of the planet does. But it's just a amazing event. I mean, it's the most difficult test of man and machine in the winter that there is anywhere. It's just it's fun to watch. It's the guys have to be as tough as the sleds, and it's been fun watching the progression. They started this thing 25 or more years ago, and just to watch the advancement of the machines and the ability of these drivers to put them through the paces is something special.
Now, this year you're backing Todd Palin's team. He's joined by a new partner, Tyler Huntington. Lots of experience and success with this duo. Todd's won 4 times, Tyler twice, so a nice team to be a part of.
Yeah, and Tyler's made the switch. Actually, both drivers have made the switch from other brands, so that's always good when you're a dealer in a specific brand. We sell the Ski-Doo brand, and so it's good to see him on it. I think the industry understands and the drivers understand that you got to increase your chances when you're riding good quality equipment. And everybody, Todd, Tyler, both, they're real excited about riding yellow.
Now, along with supporting the Palin-Huntington team, you're also doing something special this year, not just your team, but some of the other Ski-Doo racers, and it involves the color pink.
Yeah, it's funny. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, some of the racers and I were meeting in Anchorage and was watching a football game and having a beer, and all of a sudden I'm watching these football players with the pink tennis shoes on it, and obviously their breast cancer awareness is their mission there. And I thought, hey, there's an idea. Let's put pink ski tips on our Ski-Doo sleds and raise some money and have a good time and see if we get a bunch of the Ski-Doo racers to join in. They have. What's really neat about this is the Iron Dog Trail is the Iditarod Trail, and back in 1925 they made a serum run to save the people in Nome. And so the trail has a lot of history of saving lives, so this is kind of just kind of a continuation of that mission, and we call it Bring Home the Pink.
And how can people get involved if they want to help out?
Well, it's easy. You can go to our website. It's bringhomethepink.org, and you can do one of two things. You can just make a straight donation for the breast cancer in Alaska. It goes to a grassroots, totally all volunteer outfit called Breast Cancer Focus in Anchorage. Or you can play our pledge game, which is kind of neat. You can pledge a certain amount of dollars, anything you want, $1, $5, whatever, per pink tip Ski-Doo that finishes the race. And of course, Todd and Tyler we're hoping they come in at the top, and they've got the pink tips on their machine. So if 5 teams finish and you pledge $5 a sled, that's 10 teams, that's $50. And of course, it's a great cause, absolutely fantastic cause, and the racers are excited about it. They all support the cause, and it's fun, and it's just neat seeing pink tips on bright white snow with a blue sky. It looks neat.
You know, Sarah Palin pointed out in a Facebook post this past week that Breast Cancer Focus is entirely run by volunteers, and the donations go to fund efforts that will directly help women. And I think that's what's so great about this, too, to know that not just during Iron Dog season, but also after, because it gives people who want to fight breast cancer a reputable place to send their dollars. I know you talked about watching the football games and other places who, you know, they have the pink ribbons, they have the pink shoes, but so often people want to help, and then their money ends up in the hands of groups that either waste the funds or it goes to bureaucracy, or some of these groups are in bed with less than desirable organizations. So, you know, I would say Breast Cancer Focus is a group to really consider all year long.
You know, they are, and they are totally zero administrative costs. They're all volunteers, and they're very effective. You know, they do things that a lot of outfits don't do. You have to think about this. Obviously, the money goes towards education, detection, and a lot of other good areas of the medicine. But some of the funds they raise for are for you know, when a family is devastated by this by breast cancer, what happens a lot of times? I mean, it drains their savings. A lot of people, you know, that don't have a lot of money are really in trouble. This group has given money to the family so they can buy presents for the kids in the family, so they can put food on the table, put gas in their car. I mean, it's all about, you know, helping those people, and you don't just help them by giving money to research. So they have a really good group of people that knows very well where the money needs to go, and they get it there. And it's just a fantastic organization. We're proud to be associated with them, and we really hope people chip in. Like I said, you know, it doesn't take a lot. Pledge $1 a finisher, pledge $5 a finisher, and then watch them. You know, you can go to the Iron Dog website, and you can watch the machines, you know, on the GPS tracking. You can watch them go from Big Lake to Nome to Fairbanks, over 2,000 miles. You can watch them battling it out on live GPS with tracking devices. It's really cool. They're trying to put little pink ribbons on the machines that are going to be wearing pink. We haven't got that done yet, but they're hoping to do that, so that's going to be fun.
Now, the race, Craig, over 2,000 miles in rough conditions. Talk about a grueling sport. Can you describe the Iron Dog for people outside of Alaska who may not really have an understanding of it? I mean, there are some real dangers out there. You
know, it would be like driving across the dark side of the moon at full throttle. That's kind of what I've heard it described as. You know, it is absolutely insane. You've got conditions from 50 below zero to 50 above zero, open water, neck-deep sugar snow, elevation gains that are dramatic, trails that have no snow. You're just trying to keep the machine cool, finding little patches of snow. It's like driving over a series of different states, or really a different planet. It's an amazing. You're running from Big Lake, you go up over Rainy Pass, up over the mountains and towards the Yukon River. You know, some of these guys are putting 500 miles a day on these things. You know, you go in pairs of 2 teams. And one of the rules is you can tow, if one machine breaks down, you can tow it into the next checkpoint, but you can't tow it out. So you have to fix it. You have to leave the checkpoints on your own power, and then you can continue. But, you know, I've heard some just incredible stories over the year. I know 2006 was a year that over on the coast up by White Mountain and Norton Sound, I mean, these people, the racers were getting caught at night in tides that were washing up over their machines as they're trying to get across the coast. Just unbelievable stories of. It's just amazing that they get through this country.
So this year's race goes from February 16th through the 22nd, and you said the best way to follow it if you're out of Alaska is on the website.
Yeah. The Iron Dog website is irondog.org, I believe. I don't have it in my head, but all you got to do is Google Iron Dog Race, and it'll take you right to there. You can see all 40 teams. You can learn about the teams. You can learn about past races. You can see who's won, and you know, it's so funny because it used to be about 25% of the teams would finish. It's about up to 50% now, which is amazing that 50% can finish this. Sometimes we're at the finish line, of course, in Fairbanks, and when they come in, I mean, it looks like these machines have just been run through the mill. And then other machines, they come in and they look like they just came off the showroom. So it's a testament to the quality of the machines and the drivers that know how to keep them rubber side down and bring them home.
And as far as the charity, Craig, one more time, what's that website so people can sign up?
It's bringhomethepink.org. Really good website, and again, it gives you choices. It's got a lot of information. You can choose either to donate a $25 or a $50 or $1,000, whatever you want to donate as a straight donation, or you can just pledge. You make a pledge on the number of finishers that we have with Pink Skis. By the way, there's a total of, I think, about 19 Skidoo teams, and I think most of those, half or most of those, will have the pink tip. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope people get involved, and it's a great cause. Sarah was right. It's a selfless cause. These are great volunteers, and we love to see people support the cause and have fun watching the race.
Before I let you go, Craig, how's frozen Al Gore doing? Did he finally melt?
Yeah. You know what's so funny this year? This would have been the best year to do it in Alaska because of how cold it was in the States. But it has been record warm up here. I think he would have melted up there.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. But, yeah, we still poke fun at Mr. Gore. He's never we've invited him up here to debate global warming. Sarah was going to debate him up here when she was up here a couple of years ago. She offered to debate him, and he refused. I think he knows he'd get something handed to him.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Craig put together this giant ice sculpture of Al Gore a few years ago, and a couple times it was quite the sight. Hey, listen, we got to thank him, though. He is the father of the Internet, so this program would not, exist without Vice President Gore, of course.
That's right. He did invent it. I forgot
That's
about
right.
that.
Well, listen, sir, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on the wonderful idea to help fight breast cancer, and good luck to the Palin Huntington team.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate people watching it and getting involved with it. It's a great cause.
And Craig had it right. To follow the race, check out irondog.org. And to help raise money for breast cancer focus, head to bringhomethepink.org. If you were able to stay awake through it, President Obama delivered the State of the Union address this past week. Governor Palin had some fun with things beforehand, tweeting the hashtag SOTU in 3 words. Then Palin offered her examples, like Constitution? What Constitution? And Groundhog Day much? Then, sure enough, the State of the Union was a lot of the same old, same old. Palin commented afterwards, saying if you skipped huddling around the TV last night for the State of the Union address because you've heard it all before, plus you were just busy with life, well, so did I, putting the real world on hold to watch the fantasy declaration of utopia's on its way just isn't efficient. She did listen on the truck radio, however, and checked more of it out on her phone. Palin said it was all confirmation that we have heard it all before, how more government is supposedly the answer. Palin added the last thing we need right now is more help from big government. In this midterm year, we need to send new leadership to D.C. to get government back on our side and off our aching backs. This past week, Governor Palin highlighted a study from the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. It was on fiscal rankings. The bottom 3 states, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Illinois. The top state, Alaska. Kudos to Chick-fil-A from Sarah Palin. The governor pointed out that the restaurant in Georgia gave free food to some motorists stranded in that big southern snowstorm. Todd Starnes wrote about the Chick-fil-A generosity in his column at foxnews.com. And you know him from sweating to the oldies, the weight loss programs, but now Richard Simmons is jumping for joy apparently over Obamacare. And why not? As Governor Palin showed us this past week, the California Obamacare Exchange spent $1.37 million in taxpayer money to produce a 6-hour internet live stream featuring Richard Simmons cuddling a contortionist. Yes, that's where the money's going. Palin asks all of us, so are you going to just roll over and take it, America? Or will you demand your political representatives, whom you've hired, do everything they can to slay this beast of a law? If they won't, fire them at the ballot box in November. For more on the creepy Simmons show, you can check out the column from Winton Hall at Breitbart.com. And to see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page and follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA.
It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson and Kevin Scholla.
Hello, Susan. Welcome back.
Hey, Kevin, it's great to be here.
So President Obama, fresh off another State of the Union address, a lot of ho-hum in it for some. I mean, people predicted a lot of things he would say, and sure enough, he did. And, you know, this promise of utopia that still hasn't arrived. And I think you've noticed more about his overreach and how he's been a divider, not a uniter. And it's exactly what he did not talk about when running the first time in 2008.
It was difficult to watch on Tuesday night, and I will admit I could not watch all of it because I was very frustrated by the tone that was struck. And even though some disagreed with George Bush when he was the president, I think that he did strive to have the right tone, that he was presidential, that he understood that what he said, the American people were paying attention to it. And it just struck me with President Obama, it may work for him, and they may win elections based on this divide and this conquer, but for the long-term health of our country, and even for the relationships of the citizens, we look to the top, and the tone is set by our leaders. And it's hard to say this, but he really just looked like a punk giving the State of the Union speech. But what concerns me even more is his blatant promise to be the kingmaker, that he is going to make up his own rules and he is going to go around Congress. And I just want to encourage the GOP to stay on message and to stay strong on this, because right now we have an opportunity of drawing a line in the sand and just say, no, Mr. President, I'm sorry, but you're not king of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things toward the end that President Bush did that I wasn't pleased about, especially the bailouts and whatnot, but you can't question, George W. Bush's love of country and, the efforts he had to protect us following 9/11, and here you have a guy who's really exploiting one of our military heroes during the speech, and you said about not being able to get through it. I mean, you're not alone. I mean, and not only is it from the point of the lies or from the point of we've seen this already, it's also downright boring at times. Like, people used to say, all right, State of the Union, whatever party you're in, we want to hear what's going on. What are the ideas? I mean, there's just nothing happening there. Sarah Palin said, she was busy getting her kids back and forth from athletic activities and whatnot, listened on the radio and looked at it on her phone. But, people aren't even running to hear this anymore because you already know days before what's going to be said.
Well, and unfortunately in America we have another competing interest, and that is, the electronics that we're all doing at different times. But I think it's even more important for the president to use that opportunity to encourage us and to lay out his vision for America, his or her vision for America, and where he as the leader is taking us. And I didn't hear a lot of inspiration. The only really positive thing was, honoring the soldier who had, I think that was his 10th deployment. That was a very moving tribute. It would have been nice maybe if he had started with that and kind of just started out on a high positive note. So I was just disappointed, but I do want to encourage the Republican leadership to stay strong and to stay tight on this message and to push back on it, because I think it's a very dangerous precedent of what President Obama is doing.
You mentioned the punk aspect, and I have to say the smugness. I mean, it permeates through the television, and he flat out comes out in the words too. I mean, he's basically saying at some points, look, if Congress doesn't do it, I'll do it. I'll make it happen. I'll make a rule. I mean, what kind of leadership is this from a United States president? And what about Democrats in Congress? Aren't Democrat representatives? When will one of them stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm elected by my people here in my state to represent my district, and here's the president saying, nope, whatever I feel is going to happen, doesn't matter what they think. Well, do we not need a Congress?
Well, unfortunately, the Democrats have learned that there's a formula that works, and they're using it. And they're using it nationwide. They're using it here in Virginia. They used it, this formula, the war on women, so that Terry McAuliffe is now our governor. They just did the same overreach in the Virginia Senate, where the majority is now tipping in favor of the Democrats because the lieutenant governor is a Democrat and he breaks the tie of 2020. And they just did a rule change that completely goes against the Senate rules, much like Senator Harry Reid did as the majority leader in the U.S. Senate, just undoing hundreds of years of tradition as set out by the U.S. Constitution. And I think Americans are looking around and scratching their heads, and they have no confidence in their elected leaders, and we need to encourage our elected leaders to be leaders and to uphold the Constitution.
Yeah, they're big on the rule changes, the made-up rules at the end. I always feel like, if your football team's losing at the end of the game, let's play a fifth quarter. And, that's kind of what they do. I remember back in New Jersey a few years back when Bob Torricelli had to step down in disgrace, had legal issues, and he was trailing big time against Doug Forrester for U.S. Senate. It was past the deadline to change the candidate, and somehow they got an activist judge in there. They brought Frank Lautenberg out of retirement, and he wound up winning, and Jersey was still without a Republican in the U.S. Senate since the 70s. So it's, this hocus-pocus thing. But remember, one good thing, Susan, we did learn from the President in the State of the Union, global warming is real. He told us that, and I have on good authority that he consulted before with the Tooth Fairy, Bigfoot, and his fictitious non-football playing son.
It was interesting that there wasn't a lot of depth, I do not think, in the State of the Union. He played it careful, and he played it punk, so disappointing.
Very much. Susan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Susan Stimson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Sarah Steelman is off, so I'll just offer some quick thoughts today. With football season over, I was thinking the other day about who kids look up to. It's only natural, of course, to love sports, especially when you're young and in America. Watching the amazing talents of the Peyton Mannings and Kevin Durants of the world certainly inspires children and adults, too. But if you look deeper, there are plenty of athletes out there to admire for reasons that really have very little to do with their statistics or on-field production. Seattle Seahawks fullback Derek Coleman is the first legally deaf offensive player in NFL history. This past week, he surprised 2 hearing-impaired fans with tickets to see him play in the Super Bowl, 2 little twin girls. Charles Tillman of the Chicago Bears was honored with the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award this past week. Peanut Tillman created the Cornerstone Foundation back in 2005, and he's raised more than $1 million to help children. It used to be for a lot of different causes, but after his daughter Tiana received a heart transplant, the foundation shifted its goal to helping improve the lives of critically and chronically ill children. Tillman, who grew up in a military family, is certainly a hero. But when you really think about it, kids can enjoy sports for what it's meant to be, fun and entertaining, and they play sports for the physical rewards as well as the life lessons learned. When it comes to real heroes, though, you don't need the NFL or any league. We have men and women fighting for our freedom and liberty. They wear uniforms, too. They're soldiers, and they're the real, true heroes. Firefighters, police, and volunteers also come to mind. Oh, and of course, Mom and Dad. This is Kevin Scholla for SaraNet Radio. Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Commonwealth Common Sense and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download, so just head to SaraNetRadio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. Visit SaraNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow along on Twitter at SaraNet Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Susan B. Stimson, and at Sarah_Steelman. For a full recap of everything you hear on the Palin Update, plus more news regarding Governor Palin, head to our Facebook page and like SaraNet Radio. Also, like Kevin Scholla on Facebook. Palin Patriots is our feature on SaraNet.net. There you can check out the writings from our great panel of contributors, including Martha Zoller, Dan Bongino, and Bader Carmoot. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Just go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Susan Stimson, and everyone here at SaraNet Radio. Thanks to Craig Compeau. And thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.